You guys, with all the excitement, I forgot to even start recording. But we're up to 13 subs. You guys are nuts. Thank you so much. You guys are the coolest, man. You guys are freaking awesome. So I gotta catch up. And Ash, I just realized Tim did get a gift sub. He sure did. I noticed that right now too. Um, oh my gosh, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, so I'm like super behind. I gotta put 13 gems on my face. Hopefully they stick. Hopefully they actually stick and they don't fall off. And I also, there's like an automatic spin wheel that will pick a crazy color, a crazy lipstick color for me. So hopefully it doesn't do anything too wild. We'll see. And then I guess I'll wear one for like an hour and then I'll switch off. But okay, here goes nothing. So here's one. I guess I'll just put different gems on. I gotta put 13 on. I was not expecting this. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Oh gosh. Some of these are like not even coming off the thing. Okay, 2. I guess I'll put a big old heart right in the middle of my forehead. Here's 3. Oh my gosh. I've only done 3 so far. Oh man. Okay, 4. Ah! Hello! Thank you so much for the cheer. Munchie again. Wait, I lost count. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Did this fall out? No, it's right there. 4. 5. 6. I still don't know how you do that giant emote. 7. Oh. 8. Here, I'll put one on my nose. 9. I don't think it's gonna stick on my nose. We'll see. Oh my gosh. Yeah, some of these are like just not. Let me try. It's 10. 11. 12. I got 1 left. I don't even know what my face looks like right now. Okay. Okay. So, 13. There we go. 13 gems on my face. Hi, Kugla. How's it going? They look cute. Thank you. Yeah, so every sub will add a new little gem to my face. But now I have to pick. I have to roll this wheel for like a weird lipstick color. I'm a little scared. So just so you guys can see the see the colors. There's like blue, yellow, white. There's like weird colors. We'll see what this wheel picks for me. So I'll wear one for like an hour, then I have to switch. Okay, so let's see here. All right. And they all have like numbers too, so we'll see where it lands. I'm a little scared. 3. It's landing at 3. Let's see. I don't even know what 3 is. I'm a little scared right now. Okay, so. Oh gosh. Y'all, 3 is blue. So, I mean, here, let me close this real quick. So, this is 3. I don't know if you are able to see the number. Just to show y'all, I'm not cheating. That's 3. You got water? Wait, do I have water? Wait, what do you mean? I spaced out. You got water, like to drink? I have water. Oh, okay. Yeah, I do. I do. I remembered to grab some. All right. Here goes nothing, y'all. I have to wear blue lipstick and look crazy while I talk to you guys about forensic interviews with blue lipstick. Oh gosh. This is gonna look awful. Blueberry pines. Oh gosh. Okay, so at 2:15 I'll switch and pick another color. Um so yeah, this is going to be me all day today with weird colors on. Well, raspberry pines. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is kind of nuts. But this is what I signed up for. Signed myself up for. So, it is what it is. I'm just going to embrace it and yeah. Okay. So, um thank you guys so much again for all the support. Like to start off with, I was not expecting this whatsoever. So, thank you guys so much. And as you guys know, if you've been here long enough or have known me for a while, you guys know that one of my goals has always been to make this channel. Oh, thank you, Ash. One of my goals has always been to make this channel like educational and to incorporate mental health in some capacity. So um I've been so inconsistent with this. So thank you guys for being super patient with me. I'm really terrible because like I have 20 ideas in my head and then I just sort of like try one thing and then I'm not consistent with it and then I just stop doing it and it's just I'm a mess. I'm a mess. So thank you guys so much for being super patient with me first off. Secondly, um 2 months ago, almost 2 months ago, I started my internship. So, Munchie. I started my internship. So, for anybody who doesn't really know the process of becoming a licensed therapist, so you have to go to grad school. Obviously, you have to go to grad school. And for me, the program that I'm in, it's a program that is specifically for forensic psychology, but there's also a track to become a licensed therapist. So that means that I did 2 years of coursework. Technically, for me, it was three. Normally, you do like 2 years of coursework. The last year, you continue coursework while actually um, doing your internship, working as a counselor. She's basically already hired y'all. Oh, thank you, Munchie. You're so sweet. Um, so it was a whole like ordeal, trying to find an internship to begin with. It was a lot. And like Munchie can tell you how crazy that whole process was for me. So can like Ash. My friends know how much it's been. But yeah, so pretty much in your year of your internship, you are learning to work as a therapist. Um, so I won't be going too much into detail in regards to everything that goes on at my internship, but I can kind of explain the type of site that I secured an internship at, and I just thought it would be kind of cool to use this opportunity to like document my journey during this internship while also just kind of providing some education for anybody that might be just a little bit curious or whether, this reaches like other students that are going through the same process, or even people who are thinking about going to grad school to become a therapist, and they might want to. Munchie, you're so funny. Do you know how to do all these things on Twitch that I've like never seen before, that I don't know how to do? But yeah, it would be cool, like, if I was to reach other people who are considering going this route, and kind of have some questions, or want to know what kind of considerations to make before going into this field. So that's where we're at with the channel and with the mental health content that I want to put out there. So to start off, I thought it would be kind of cool to talk about forensic interviews and what they are and what my experience has been observing them. So my internship, I'm working with a nonprofit that does a lot of different things. So it's primarily a nonprofit for domestic violence, sexual abuse, and there's also and child abuse. So within the program, we do a lot, right? So I'm training as a crisis counselor, and that can be one of the topics that we talk about later. So, because I kind of want to focus on forensic interviews for this video, or for this portion of it. So there's a child advocacy center within the center that I am training at, and the child advocacy center does a lot of different things, and one of those is forensic interviewing. So if you're not familiar with that process, anytime a child is, victim to a crime or has witnessed a crime, anything like that, they could go through the process of what's called a forensic interview. So a forensic interview happens when there's like an investigation, and they need somebody to interview a child to be able to gather as much information as possible for for like the investigative purposes. But it does serve some different, you are trying to accomplish a few different things. So you want to gather enough information about what occurred, what the child was witness to. It's also a way to kind of assess whether or not the child is safe in their home, to kind of understand, the dynamic at home, how they're living, make sure that they're safe. And then you can also assess like if there's any additional need for support. So like whether the child may need counseling, whether the family needs additional support, stuff like that. And the people that conduct these interviews are people that have gone through specific training to understand how to conduct the interviews, because they have to be done in a particular way. So the important thing about these is that they are child-centered. So what that means is the environment where the child is being interviewed, it's meant to make them feel comfortable, to try to reduce like how much stress a child may feel, because I'm sure you can imagine like a child's been through something super traumatic, and then they have to go in and like talk to somebody who's a complete stranger. Like that's a lot, you know what I mean, especially for somebody who's really young. So there are people who are trained to understand how to ask questions, and it's a multidisciplinary approach. So what that means is you're gonna have people from different who play different roles in the investigation process. You're gonna have them be usually you'll have them be present. So the way it happens, at least at my site, and by the way, I'm like purposely not giving the name of where I'm training. I'm purposely not giving away that information, but at least at my site, the way it happens is we do have two different rooms set up. So one of the rooms is going to be where the interview happens, and it's set up with like couches with like a big tablet. There's like additional things in there too. That room will have cameras and microphones. So that's where the interview takes place. And then there's another room, like down the same hall, there's another room where they have like a giant TV and they have like other places to be sitting. And anybody who needs to view the or observe the interview will sit in there to take a look at it, to see as it's happening in real time. So the people that are usually in there would be like law enforcement or DSS workers, so the Department of Social Services. So they would be in there observing the interview. And the job of the interviewer is to meet with the people who have a stake in the process, to kind of talk to them, gather all the information that they need to be able to interview the child, and be able to sit down with them and say like, okay, so what information do you need from me? Like, what are the questions that we need to ask? Because you don't want to just talk to them about anything and everything, right? The whole purpose is to be able to gather specific information. So that usually happens, they kind of give like background information, like this is a question that we have, so we get to kind of understand how it is that this came to be. Like, why is a child here? Were they witness to something? Are they victims of something? And then they'll kind of discuss like, this is the information that we need. But it's really just an opportunity for the child to tell the story from their perspective. And then the interviewer goes and they, establish rapport with the child, kind of get them comfortable and start to kind of like, what they do is gauge to make sure that the child understands certain things, like can they tell, fact from fiction, that type of thing. So they'll start, to ask questions and everything. At one point, they'll take a break and they'll say, hey, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go check on a few things. They come back into the room where like law enforcement, whoever else is, and they just sort of ask like that little emote. And they just sort of ask like, hey, do you have any additional questions? Did I get all the information for you that you needed? So it's an opportunity for them to kind of ask follow-up questions, right? And just before they actually wrap up the interview. So then they go back to the room. The interviewer goes back to the room with the child. They will answer any additional questions, or ask any additional questions that they may have, just to see if the child discloses anything. And then at that point, they'll wrap it up and then the child will get to go home. And then there's a meeting afterward, right? Once everything is done, there's like a meeting afterward. Sometimes the child's parents will come in and they'll kind of talk to law enforcement, whoever's there, to talk about next steps in the process. And at least at my site, sometimes if it's determined that like, okay, this child could also benefit from like counseling services potentially, then that's like a discussion that's had with the parents, like, would you like to schedule something for them to come in and speak to someone, that sort of thing. So the reason that you have to be trained as a forensic interviewer is because there's like if before this process where they had one person interview the child, you used to have a lot of different people asking children all these questions and having the child repeat their story over and over and over again. And not only is that extremely traumatizing, because for somebody who has experienced trauma, the last thing that they want to do is like just continue repeating it over and over and over and over, and not, without even getting any kind of like treatment to process it and to overcome what's happened to them. So that's one reason. It's really just to minimize that and make sure that they only have to speak to one person and tell their story that one time, and everybody else just observes. So that's why like this approach is a lot better. It's less traumatizing for kids. Another reason is that you have to understand how to ask questions in an appropriate manner so that you are not being too suggestive. Because if people are not trained, they can ask certain questions and they can like be very suggestive. So then the child could potentially disclose something that is false. Or there's also the potential to like to implant memories, to like implant false memories where the child could think that something happened that didn't actually happen. So that's why, people go through the process of needing to be trained. There's like a certain standard that has to be followed, and you have to ask questions a certain way. So it's really done strategically to make sure that kids are not being re-traumatized and that they're not being implanted with false memories. Like, it's really just to make everything easier on them. Munchie, thank you so much for the 100 biddies. Um, but that's the reason it's done that way. Um, so for me, one thing I do want to be clear about too, for me doing my training, I'm not training to be a forensic interviewer. Especially like at least at this point in time, that's not something that I am necessarily interested in doing. um, it's been a great learning experience to be able to sit there and observe the people that do this professionally. But for me, I'm training to just be a counselor, right? So, because these interviews are also not therapeutic interviews, so it's very different from like when somebody shows up to a therapy session. This is really just more investigative. It's like having a conversation, it's understanding how the child lives and what they've been through, but it's not to help them in a therapeutic context where they're processing everything that they've been through. So it is very, very different. You still kind of have to like establish rapport with kids, get them to, feel comfortable to kind of understand like, hey, I'm just here to help. Like, I'm not here, to cause any additional harm or anything like that. But I will say that, kids are made aware that what they're saying is being recorded. So that's another thing that is really important too. They are, they're not just like in the room without knowing that that somebody's listening, right? They may not understand exactly what this whole process is, but they are made aware that, there's microphones in the room, there's a camera up there. Like, so they know. They know that much at least. The older kids may be able to understand it a lot better, but even for like really little ones, they're still told. And the really young kids are very funny because sometimes they want to go straight up to the microphone and like say something. So it's kind of funny to see that. But yeah, the youngest child that I have personally seen be interviewed has been 4 years old. And the thing too is when kids are really young, they may not even really be able to share. They may not be able to tell like a comprehensive story. So that's another thing to keep in mind. If kids are really, really young, you may not really be able to get too much out of them. So sometimes, the interview just kind of has to end and be like, we did what we could. Unfortunately, this child wasn't able to tell their story in a way that, that aided the investigation. But I'm not sure exactly like up to what age. I want to say like up to teenagers. They interview up to teenagers. But I don't want to give a specific age because I'm not exactly sure. I just know that it is for, at least at that child advocacy center, it is for, children and teens. But it is honestly very interesting to observe. And I will say like it's also much tougher than it seems. Because truly, from at least from me observing the interviewers, they can go in there and not have no idea how it's gonna go. like what kind of information is going to be shared, what type of disclosure the children will make. So you definitely have to be prepared to hear just about anything, um, and be able to stay calm. Make sure to stay calm. Make sure not to react strongly to certain things. So it's definitely a very tough job, and I have so much respect for people who do that, who show up and have to interview kids after they've been through, a very traumatic event. So I have a lot of respect for forensic interviewers. Again, not sure if that's something that I will ever want to do myself, but I have a lot of respect for people who do this. Now, as far as like requirements to become a forensic interviewer, I don't know if there's like universal requirements, but I think the people that I have been working with, I'm pretty sure everybody has their masters in social work at least. I'm not sure if that's like, a requirement to be able to do that job. Um, so I don't know. I guess maybe that might vary by site. At least where I'm at, everybody has their masters in social work. Some people are also therapists. Some other people are not. So I don't think you have to be a therapist, but you do have to go through a different type of training to learn how to ask questions, and how to aid in the investigative process. Um, but I think it's also like very important to remember, that it isn't easy because the people who are asking these questions are also human, and they may react after the interview. They may hear something that is really difficult for them to hear, and they may need some time after listening to this, because it is a lot, and some people are kind of triggered or bothered by different things. So um, it's one thing to keep in mind when when I started observing these interviews. I was given some really excellent advice by somebody who's a leader on the site. Oh, thank you, Ash. Doing amazing work. Thank you so much. And honestly, I love it. I love it so far. Like, I really do. I love what I'm doing. Um, but, when I first started observing, um, I was given some really, really excellent advice before I went to my very first forensic interview. I was told to just take like a notebook with me and pay attention to how my body was reacting as I was listening. So I can kind of start to identify and be able to tell like how certain things affect me. And that was amazing advice. It really helped because I was able to sit there and notice certain things, like, because you may not be aware of how your body is reacting when you hear certain things unless you're purposely paying attention to it. So it was very interesting because, like, at a lot of points I wasn't affected like at all. Like, I was just kind of like, okay, but other times I was like, ooh, like my whole back tensed up, like I felt a chill run down my spine. So it's just very good practice in general, especially like with me training to be a therapist, because I'm human too. It's unrealistic to think that I'll be able to hear anything and everything and not be affected. So I think it's very important to, if you're going into this field of work, to be very, very self-aware and make sure that you are constantly checking in with yourself, because that allows you to work through some of those things versus just kind of suppressing and acting like everything is okay, because you probably will blow up at some point. um, but yeah, that, forensic interviews are very interesting. And you guys would be surprised at how many forensic interviews are done. There's a lot of interviews are done. Like we do, I think, two a day, usually two a day, sometimes more. Sometimes there's like siblings that show up and have to do interviews. Um, So they're also very careful about, you know, assigning different interviewers because it is very, very taxing. So you don't want to have like one person do like 3 interviews in one day because it is a lot. They're very, very intense. Um, so yeah, it's important to manage, at least from my perspective. It seems like the way it's managed, they really take into account like, how much work has one person done, and they want to make sure not to overload that person because it is quite a bit. But yeah, those are forensic interviews. And again, I can't speak on how everything, like how every child advocacy center does things. I'm sure that there's like differences. There could be even differences by state. I have no idea. Um, I'm working to be licensed in South Carolina, by the way. So that's as far as I will share. I'm not gonna share exactly where I'm training, but yeah, it's being done in South Carolina. So there could be a lot of differences. But if it's something that a topic that interests you, or um, you're you know that interests you, whether just as a topic or professionally, that's definitely something to look into and just kind of know. But that's just kind of like my opinion, just from my very limited perspective. Another thing I will say is that I have had a really good experience so far with the other professionals that go. So with law enforcement, with DSS, so far I have had a really good experience with them being in the room. They've at no point, and they all know, like, I'm just an intern, like, but at no point have any of them treated me like an intern. At no point have any of them, you know, not wanted to hear my perspective. If anything, they're so open that they've been like, well, what do you think about this? Or is there something that you noticed? So it's been very cool to, kind of get to know some of like the detectives in the area and be able to kind of talk to them. Because you do see a lot of different things. There's at one point there was one where we were suspecting that the child was being coached. So it was, I was able to talk to the sergeant of SVU, so real life Olivia Benson. And yeah, so it was kind of cool to hear like her perspective and to kind of hear about the investigation process, and to just really for them to sit down and talk to me and ask me questions like, hey, so where are you going to school? What kind of populations do you want to work with? What are you going to do professionally after this? So it's been a really, really awesome experience so far. Okay, let me catch up with chat. Definitely kept busy. Oh my gosh. Hello. Hello, Tim. 5 out of 200. Okay, let me catch up with chat. Oh wow, definitely kept busy. Yes, for sure. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Tim. I love that. I feel people can be quick to dismiss interns at times. I agree with that. They can be quick to dismiss interns, and it sucks. So far my experience has been really good. People have been really open. Babe, tell them about the quiet little girl that secretly loved you. Yeah, so I'm just gonna. Is this the last one? Tim, thank you so much for those 5 subs. I think that was the last one. Maybe not. um, yeah. So it's kind of funny. One of my first clients was a 5-year-old, and she was very quiet. Like she wouldn't. I couldn't really get too much out of her. So it was just interesting from my perspective, like working with her, because I sort of felt like I'm not really doing anything with her. I'm not really like, am I really being effective here? Like, am I actually helping her? And you know, my sessions with her are already done, but you know, according to her mom, like she actually like loved coming to see me. So that would like even that alone feels really good. You know what I mean? When like you feel like maybe I'm not being very effective, but then to hear from like the client's caregiver, like she actually loves her. She loves coming to see her. So that was very cool. It's especially cool because like that was my very first client ever, you know, where I was like scared that I was going to mess things up, but it's a good thing. Um okay. Tim claims you would play Elden Ring for 600 bucks worth of subs. She said it in the general chat of her Discord. Yeah. How about you just pay $600, Tim, that she can keep it and still not play Elden? Yeah, I told Tim because he was asking where's my Elden Ring playthrough, and I told him if he donated 200 subs, then I would play it. Oh my gosh, that is great. Yeah, but thank you so much. So now I have to put 5 more gems on my face, and on top of that, like, Ash, can I borrow 600 bucks? I have to put 5 more gems on my face. And I also have to talk about the other, like, rewards that you guys have unlocked. Okay, so there's one. 2. My fees. 3. 4. Is it even sticking? Here, we'll do a heart next. 5. Wait, I don't remember. Where do I put I'll put this up here. Okay, so what else have you guys unlocked? That's, how many are we at? 18? 18 subs? Oh my goodness. That's a lot, y'all. Okay, let me see. So, we said, let's do this. Okay, so actually, before I start, let me go ahead and finish recording because I am going to put the forensic interview stuff up on YouTube. Oh my gosh, 2 more? Tim, thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let me put 2 more gems on my face. I hate how uneven it was. Here, 2. Hey, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I have a bunch of, like, I'm gonna run out of space. Okay, let me go ahead and stop my recording so I can put this on YouTube. But now I have to be wearing all these weird lipstick colors. I gotta wait like 30 more minutes to change this one out. Oh my gosh. Munchie, another 5? Thank you so much, babe. Ah, more gems. You guys are insane, man. Thank you so much. I'm gonna lose track eventually. It's just gonna keep going. Okay, let me stop my recording now for real.